All right, what's up, everybody? This is another episode of the AJXO pod, Average Joe's X's and O's. This is Nick here, running a solo episode today. Justin is unavailable, so we're going to kind of cover a couple quick topics here. Kind of give you some thoughts of some of the things happening in the NFL landscape currently. Kind of going through off-season stuff. Draft is coming up here. About a month, and pretty excited. We're seeing some pro day numbers come out. Got some guys that are putting up some good numbers, some stuff that you can kind of take with you in terms of just kind of seeing how it matches up with what we're seeing on film and some of the game tape for these prospects. So it would be an interesting draft. I'm really actually looking forward to it, especially for my squad. I think we're primed to take best player available here at the 30 spot for the Bills. But, a lot of teams are going to get much better this offseason, and we've been seeing some of the stuff happen in this free agency period where teams are addressing a lot of their needs, plugging some holes, kind of setting themselves up for the draft. And we can kind of are starting to get the landscape shaken out here for what teams might be targeting going into the draft. We already know the quarterback needy teams, the guys at the top of the draft, they pretty much projected Jaguars are going to take Trevor Lawrence, and then how the rest of the quarterbacks, whether it's Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, we'll see how these guys shake out as far as, where they go. And we can kind of make some projections as far as their rookie seasons once that happens. So pretty good stuff. I do want to start off the show kind of hashing out one of the bigger storylines I think that's emerged this offseason with the Deshaun Watson, just the bombshell of a story that's going on. There's a lot of layers to the story, and it's a pretty concerning and giant magnitude in terms of the landscape of the NFL. For a multitude of reasons. I mean, the first and foremost, we're looking at, 15, I believe, 14 or 15 different or sexual assault accusations against him. And it's a big deal because, especially if it's true, so let's look at it from that standpoint. If all 15 of these accusations that have come out are proven to be true, you feel for the women who were actually, had gone through this experience. And, you would hope swift justice is given in terms of retribution for those women. And on the flip side of it, if it happens to be false, you got just a situation in which is indefensible in that case as well. Against Deshaun Watson's character, some of the things that he's done for the community in Houston and just in general, as an NFL player and his platform, to have a character assassination in that regard. It's a slippery slope, and it's, currently in the civil case status, which essentially what we're looking at is it has not gone to a criminal level. So you still have things that can shake out as far as settlements that are concerned. There's a lot of, ambiguity there, but you do have some things that you're going to transpire, you're going to kind of hash out, whether this does proceed to a criminal level. We're looking at the problem with it is, you're going to obviously, I'm a firm believer of innocent until proven guilty. So we want to see this hash out. We want to see the evidence. I don't want to pass judgment on any of this stuff. And the problem that comes into cases like this is actual physical proof. Unless you have physical documentation of this, or, and this is any case. This doesn't just necessarily need to, be just with Deshaun Watson specifically. You're talking about sexual assault cases across the country, and a lot of times it's, from my understanding, that's why women who are sexually assaulted don't like to come out with this information, because you're looking at how do you prove something like that? Unless you're physically, or unless you're actually recording it on video, have audio of the situation, have somebody present as a witness of that situation. It's very difficult to prove that actually happened to you. So instead of going through, the whole saga and reliving it and, bringing it to light, a lot of women are, they don't want to bring the burden upon themselves, because what can you do? And it's a very unfortunate reality for a lot of people who have been sexually assaulted, have been abused in that regard, because of lack of evidence. And it's a very unfortunate reality. And we're going to see kind of how this all plays out. I'm surprised it's not actually a bigger storyline than, I've heard it brief passing on some national stages and things, but I think because it is in the civil side of it, we haven't really heard, a ton of. You haven't really heard a ton of information coming out on it. Deshaun's lawyer did just release a statement, proving or saying they have proof that it is, one of the cases at least was in an attempt to blackmail, Deshaun, as far as, requesting money or payment for silence. So this will be something to bear in mind and keep track of. Obviously you want justice to be served, whether it's in Deshaun's case or, if it ends up being something that actually happened in the case of the 15 lawsuits and the 15 women that have come out about this. So, it bears watching. The flip side of it, something that kind of piggybacks off of this issue is you're looking at, what kind of market he's going to bring from a trade standpoint. And until this gets resolved, I can't see anybody really wanting to invest assets into trading for him at the current time. And, if I'm a team, I'm monitoring it. If I'm the NFL, I'm obviously investigating and monitoring this situation, as we go forward. But, I don't think we're going to be looking at teams or hearing any information about teams really trying to make a move until this case is resolved. So, and again, if I'm a team, we're monitoring this situation. If I'm the Jets, the Dolphins, some of the rumored teams that are involved with potentially trading for Deshaun, I'm monitoring it. But at this time, I'm not making any moves because we don't know what's going to happen. As far as the NFL is concerned, too, in this situation, they're in a tough spot as well. Obviously they're going to conduct their own investigation of the matter, make a determination on whether or not to put Deshaun Watson on the exempt list for the season, which would, bear some consequences, from a standpoint of, does he get traded? Does he not? So I could absolutely see them putting him on the exempt list. I think that's something that next step, if we're going to hear something from the league, that is the next step. He gets put on the exempt list, ends up sitting out the season, still accrues his game checks and his guaranteed money for the year. But we might not see him playing. But there's still that time in that buffer zone from, all right, hey, once this investigation is concluded, now we can make that determination. But just an overall crazy thing. And I know talking to Justin, he's concerned. One of his big concerns was he thought it was crazy that, all of a sudden all of this information comes out all at one time. And how did nobody know about it? And we already discussed, there's one of the thought processes here that a lot of times people don't bring this information to light. And if they do, I had a similar experience. And, once one person gets that snowball rolling, it makes it a little bit easier to come out about it. So, I can absolutely see why, all right, hey, this person, we've had multiple people come up and bring this up, now we can kind of formulate a case here, so Bears watching. I am Definitely going to be following this story a little bit more in depth, trying to see what happens. It's a big domino, it's a big image, when you're looking at the image of the league and trying to, take some of the players who have a checkered past, and trying to, essentially paint that brush over top and say, hey, you know what, it's not everybody, and we're the NFL, and we're just going to keep this train rolling. It puts a blemish on the league, but the league still carries on, and it's an unfortunate reality when it comes to that. So definitely a bombshell of a story, especially with one of the more prolific players in the NFL. So it's just crazy to me too. I feel, again, if this was something that actually happened, I feel terrible for the women that it happened to. And conversely, you don't ever want to see somebody, if in the case that this is not a factual case and it's there to slander, you hate to see it for somebody who has been a staple of the community and done some good things for the community. So, it's definitely a story that we're watching. We have some of the bigger pieces of news for today. Again, this is March 24th episode. So some of the things that we had, Jadeveon Clowney came in for a visit with the Browns today. And that visit had concluded without a deal. So, definitely could be a big addition to the Browns, especially as a pass rusher on the opposite of Myles Garrett. It all is hinged on, does he return to form? And that's the one thing I look at. We didn't see much production out of him. 0 sacks out of him when he played for Tennessee. So as a depth player, as a name, it's a awesome look at the guy. From a production standpoint, over the course of the course of the last couple seasons, hasn't really been productive. But bears watching. Definitely kind of going to see what kind of market he's looking for and what kind of market teams are going to give him. But definitely an intriguing visit, and it was something that the Browns had been on the Browns' radar for since last year at least, where they wanted to get a face-to-face interview with a guy. Let's sit down. Let's hash out what we're doing. Let's hash out what's going on. As far as where the team direction's heading and how he can contribute. If he can return to form like the first couple of years, and stay healthy, I could absolutely, especially opposite Myles Garrett, I could absolutely see him playing a role. How dominant he's going to be, he's going to get a lot of opportunities, and Myles Garrett's going to be the guy that's going to get most of the looks on the other side there, and most of the the attention from a blocking scheme standpoint. So, it'd be definitely has an opportunity, and he can resurrect his career. And the Browns are in a good position where we can add this guy and at least bring him to camp and get a good look at him, and make sure that he's going to fit what we're going for. And if he returns to form, watch out. The Browns could be one of those defenses that, you're going to have to keep an eye on coming into this season, especially if we start getting camps and stuff this year. And players are actually able to go through a full training camp and get the reps and, especially with the new additions they have. So definitely was an interesting bit of news. And I think, again, I think it could be a good fit. It all just is going to hinge on, does he come back to form? Does he and how can he contribute in that regard? James White went back to the Patriots, a 1-year deal. Surround Cam with weapons. We got to see what Cam's going to be about this year. That's going to be the biggest thing. Patriots have spent $157 million in contracts, or given out $157 million worth of contracts this year, which I think is an NFL record, if I'm not mistaken, for money given out in a total, in one total offseason of contracts. So no excuses in this regard. Defense should be vastly improved. They're going to get some opt-outs that are coming back, to on the defensive side of the ball. I could absolutely see a couple other additional moves being made, whether it's a trade, whether it's, additional signings. There's a ton of names out on the free agent market now that I think are going to be bargain values for teams. Right now rosters are kind of shaping out. So anybody that's left on the free agent market is going to be, hey, here's the deals that we have to offer you and take it or leave it, which is it's getting to that point now on the free agent side of it. So I could definitely see the Patriots making a few additional moves, solidifying their roster prior to the draft. And, let's not rule out the fact that I think the Patriots might be targeting a quarterback in the draft. It makes sense to me. But then again, with the history of Belichick, who knows? They might take that draft pick, trade out of the first round completely, and just get 47 additional picks in future drafts. You never know, but it would make a lot of sense to me that, hey, we got Cam as a bridge guy. Let's see what he can do with the weapons we put in place this year. And when we move forward, if we have a quarterback in place or we draft a guy this year, then we know, hey, this is what we're looking at. But I could absolutely see it. Or they could go a multitude of different directions. But James White coming back fills a hole for them as a pass catching running back. Very productive in his career with the Patriots. So, just another one of those signings, good value signing for them, bringing them back. But definitely one of those things that they could have used it, and just plugs in another hole, but it allows them to kind of go in a few different directions. In the draft and additional free agent signings going forward. We have the draft coming up, guys. I'm actually kind of starting to get more and more excited about the draft, just from a personal standpoint for me, for what the Bills could be potentially looking at here with the draft. We also have, other teams are going to be playing a lot of holes. I could see 4 or 5 quarterbacks going in the first round again this year. The class seems to be pretty solid. There seems to be a pretty solid opinion of the different things that these quarterbacks can do. I'm curious. I don't know right now. My draft order and my quarterback rankings order seems to change on a daily basis. Just based on some of the film that you watch and kind of what fits what fits you're looking at from a team standpoint. If Justin Fields runs a reported 4.3 or sub 4.4 40 in his pro day, I don't know how teams going to pass him up. You look at some of the more prolific quarterbacks that have been come out in the last few years. Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen's a mobile quarterback. You got Herbert, who's a pretty good athlete at the quarterback position. A lot of these guys are mobile quarterbacks, and the mobility and the ability to generate off-schedule plays, but use that running ability as a weapon. I know specific examples of Allen and Lamar utilize their legs and their mobility and the ability to gain yards running the ball. They use that as a crutch when things broke down in their rookie seasons as they continue to develop. The passing game, learning offenses, learning how to read NFL defenses, and playing against the speed that NFL defenses bring to the picture. So if Justin Fields runs a 4.3 40 or sub 4.4 40, I should say, I think teams are going to say dynamic athlete. I think he's demonstrated enough on the game film that he absolutely has the arm talent to succeed in the NFL. You're gonna really hash out whether or not he's going to be able to learn NFL offenses, which there's nothing that I've seen that says that he can't do that. If you get to the point where this kid starts to develop and with his physical gifts, throwing the football and running the football, he's going to be a dangerous player in the NFL. Teams are going to be able to utilize him in a multitude of ways. He could go anywhere for me. He's been as high as QB2. He's been as low as QB4. Just depends on, just the more film you watch, the more things you see. This is where I wish you kind of had a little bit more information on these guys as far as how do they interview, what does their IQ look like from a football standpoint? You don't get that inside information. And, that's why I think, you see drafts where, there's a shock that this quarterback went before this guy and things like that happen. So, but Justin Fields is definitely a guy I'm keeping an eye on come draft time. Especially for some of the quarterback needed teams. I'd hate to see him in the AFC East because I think he would be, based on the offense that the Patriots, we brought them up earlier, the Patriots run with Cam Newton. He's a little bit different of a type of runner because he's not like the big, just, power runner like what you would see out of Cam Newton, but to utilize him on read options and to utilize him on RPO action and things of that nature, some of the things that Josh McDaniels implemented with Cam Newton in that offense last year. You put a 4-3-5, 4-3-9 guy back there in the backfield to run that, it stresses defenses to the point where I think they could be a dangerous offense, especially now you've got tight ends in there and Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry that are guys that what's a rookie quarterback's best friend? What are some quarterbacks' best friends? They're the tight ends, right? In those two tight end sets, you're going to have the security blanket available for a rookie quarterback to step in. So I would hate to see him go to the NFC, man. Get drafted by an NFC team. I can't have you, specifically in the AFC, to contend with a quarterback class and a group of quarterbacks in the AFC that seem to be rising stars there. So, it would definitely be something that I would, keep an eye on. Trey Lance is another guy, he's not quite as fast as you would see out of Fields, but another guy that's an athletic quarterback. We already know Trevor Lawrence is also another one of those guys that's an athletic quarterback playoff schedule. So the quarterback situation is going to shake out pretty nice. But the more I dive into this draft class, the more I'm seeing a few different things are standing out to me. We had a couple defensive back pro days that have happened over the course of the last few days. Asante Samuel, Patrick Surtain, what is the guy? I forget last name. I'll look it up, but he just had a pro day today, and I don't know why I brought it up. I apologize, but these guys are, showing that their game tape is superb. You've got, especially when you're looking at Patrick Surtain out of Alabama, a guy that he flashes on film. He's going to be one of those guys that can step in right away and be a cornerback one in a defense, whether you're playing man or zone. He's going to be, a guy that steps in and physical gifts. Jace Horn was who I was thinking of, Joe Horn's kid. That's a guy that had a dynamic pro day as well, explosive athletes, first round corners. I had no doubt in my mind. I would not be surprised if Asante Samuel Jr. is also another first round corner that comes in and steps right in as a cornerback one. I think the depth in this corner class is phenomenal. You're going to get anywhere between rounds 1 and 3. You're going to get guys that are going to step in and improve your defense and are going to compete, whether it's competing as a nickel corner, in a lot of versatility in zone and man schemes. You're going to get some guys that are just going to be your primarily outside guys, big, strong, fast guys that you're going to, contest for that outside spot, which is awesome because, we've seen with the depth that's come in for wide receiver classes, it's good to see that the depth in the corner class is pretty solid this year. Again, speaking of wideouts, it seems every year, you get some athletes that come in at the cornerback spot, and these pro days have shown, hey, explosive athletes, some guys that are going to, be assets to a team, whoever drafts them. The speed and the dynamic abilities that are coming into coming out this year for the wide receiver class is unreal as well. Pick your poison. You got guys like Rondale Moore, who might be a little bit smaller, but the playmaking ability is there, running in the the 4.3s in his 40. Dynamic athlete, very explosive. His vert was 41 inches, I believe. You got that type of flavor who could be a slot, dynamic, jet sweep gadget, line them up in the backfield, multitude of different roles. And it has the electric playmaking ability to take the ball and house one, all the way to guys that like Anthony Schwartz from Auburn, burners, but more of a linear, taller wide receiver one, or outside receiver, I should say, that, more vertical, needs to get polished on the route running a little bit more. You got Shee Smith, who from South Carolina, who's going to be, more of a slot type. So you got a lot of slot guys. You got some guys that are, obviously your big names, your Jalen Waddles, your Devontae Smith. You got those guys coming out as well, who are going to be just your kind of prolific all around players. So this wide receiver class, as you go down the board, you could take a guy in the 5th round that could end up being a wide receiver 2 or 3 for you, just depending on what you're asking him to do. And it never ceases to amaze me. As the corner class, you look at it and go, okay, wow, there's a lot here. The wide receiver class, you go, holy shit, there's definitely a lot here. So, that's intriguing to me. And I think a lot of teams are and it's part of the reason why I think the wide receiver market's been kind of slow to move free agency, is because I think teams are seeing what's available in the draft and saying, if we don't fill this wide receiver 5 position, or this, even wide receiver 4 position, we could draft a guy in the first couple rounds that could absolutely step in and compete there. Hell, who knows? He could even compete for wide receiver 3 or 2 at that point. So awesome depth there. And I think this offensive line class is going to be pretty solid as well. I think there's a lot of depth in this class coming up. Again, pick your flavor. I think a lot of the tackles that are coming out, not really a prototypical left tackle per se. That a lot of them that are coming out. I think a lot of the guys that are coming into this year are going to project more as the right tackle, just from a arm length standpoint, size standpoint. You're kind of seeing more prototypical right tackle, but position flexibility. I think any one of these guys that come out or that are coming out, you got your. I think some of my favorite guys, outside of Penei Sewell, who I think is just going to be a phenomenal player in this league. He's like the Tristan Wirfs or the Mekhi Bectons of last year, the Jedrick Wills of last year. Like, this guy is going to be phenomenal. He could even be even better than those guys. His game film is unreal from an offensive line standpoint. But Tevin Jenkins, some of the guys like Creed Humphrey really helped himself with his pro day, showing his athleticism. Alex Leatherwood, Landon Dickerson out of Alabama. There's some guys that are coming out, and I'm really excited about it because for the Bills specifically, that's something that I think that they need to bring competition in, and grab one in the first round if you want to at 30, trade back and grab one in the second round and acquire picks. You have a lot of options here, and the depth is solid. It could be a day 2 guy that could come in and really compete for a starting job, or, be a guy that, hey, we're going to redshirt you this year. Next year you slot in as a starting guy, to go along with Cody Ford, who they drafted a couple years ago. The depth there, if you need offensive linemen, I think this is a good class to really pick your poison, determine, here's what we're looking for out of a guy. We have multitude of flavor to pick from here. So it's something that I'm looking forward to. The first round's fun. It's always a fun time in the draft, but the meat and potatoes is the rounds 2, 3, 4. That's where I really like to see some of the players, some of the moves that are made, because those are where you can get value picks and really bolster some depth on your team. So we have I have a lot of different things that are going on there. In the draft, we've got that coming up in April, and it's in Cleveland this year. And they did announce that fans will be in attendance, which is an interesting thing. We're looking at, in the era of COVID, you're going to have some limited access to things. You're going to have to adhere to security protocols and, kind of go through a bunch of different, a bunch of different things to attend. It's something I'm trying to attend for sure. I put in a request to try to get tickets, and we'll see what happens there. But that, being in the Cleveland area myself, I want to catch a draft. It'd be really fun. It'd be a long day for me, where the Bills are playing, and for Browns fans too, it'd be a long day. But just be cool to interact with that and see what happens. But I'll tell you, man, it's one of those deals where it always seems like there's always something going on. And I know we say it all the time, but I mean, when you look at it, season ends, Super Bowl ends, and then you've got your free agency period, and then the draft's right around the corner. Then it's training camp, and this is like draft time for me. You look outside. Got some sunshine going on out here, nice 70-degree day here, balmy day in Cleveland. I actually got to wear a short sleeve shirt for the first time since pretty much maybe late October. So it's definitely, getting to that point. And to me, it just signifies, hey, summer's right around the corner. You got that training camp coming up and right around the corner as well. Hopefully training camp this year, I should say, depending on COVID stuff. But, it's just kind of, you get the feel of, all right, it's really where the excitement builds for teams. And we're seeing a lot of excitement from fans. We're seeing a lot of different things. And I'm curious for any of our listeners out there too, like, let us know what you think about your team's free agency. Thumbs up on your team, thumbs down on your team. How do you guys think your teams have plugged the holes they needed to plug going into the draft, and what kind of players are you wanting to see, your team target in the draft? I'm really curious to find out what some of our listeners have to say about this. So you can always hit us up, guys. Our Twitter handle, our Instagram, our TikTok for the podcast, AJXO Pod is going to be the handle there. And then Justin, you can always get at him. It's Justin _Maxim. And then for me, my Twitter handle is BillsFan53, but it's B1LLS Fan53. So hit us up. I'm curious, what are we looking at here, guys? Are we pumped? Are we ready to go? Are we all of our teams winning the Super Bowl this year? Or, are we a little disappointed with some of the moves that have been made or lack of moves that have been made? And where are we looking at the draft here? I mean, I think a lot of these teams, it's going to be tough. And I know the AFC got much more difficult. I honestly think that there's going to be a little bit of a changing of the guard in the AFC North with some of the moves or lack of moves the Steelers have made. There's definitely some stuff that's going on that I think could shake up. And who knows, man? We got Russell Wilson drama. We got, he could be traded. There's a lot of intriguing storylines going into this offseason and into the draft here. And I think we're going to kind of get a little bit better picture of what's going to transpire here come draft time and post-draft as well. So be sure, like I said, be sure to hit us up here on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. I want to hear from you guys. With that being said, just wanted to kind of get a quick episode out for you. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled episodes here next week. Give us some stuff to talk about. What do you guys want to hear? Well, what sort of stuff do we want to dive into? But again, let us know. Hit us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And on that note, I will catch you guys later, and we'll see you guys next week. Appreciate you listening.